Join me today as we talk about Hasbro's current situation where some of their shareholders are now suing them. This is the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Bobbie, and today we're going to talk a little bit about a lawsuit that Hasbro finds itself in. Now, before I go any farther, let me be crystal clear that everything I'm about to talk about, like the factual parts, came from an article that I did not write. I am not a lawyer. None of this represents legal advice, counsel, anything of that nature, and should not be acted upon in any way like that. Likewise, since this involves such things, this is also should not be constituted as any kind of financial advice, because I am not a financial person, financier, etc., etc. So, this is just me commenting on it. So we're crystal clear. So, don't think you can come and sue me. Anyway, so the lawsuit alleges that Hasbro was not quite honest about their escalating levels of inventory over the last couple years, and and related to that, we're not really very honest about the demand for said inventory, because if I'm reading the article correctly, the claim is that Hasbro justified the increased inventory by saying there was demand for it, and this has turned out to not be true, at least alleged in the lawsuit. So this probably ties into things that we've been seeing over the last year and a half or so, as far as places like Ollie's and Ross just getting tons and tons of Hasbro inventory. Now those two, it's been primarily action figures, but apparently the suit doesn't actually single out any individual part. So it could also be alleging this towards, like, say, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, but it's probably meaning like Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe Classified, Power Rangers, the action figure stuff that we're seeing show up at these secondhand stores. Or not secondhand, they're retail triage, I think is the term for it. And also, the cycle of clearance that we keep seeing at Target is probably related to this. Very likely the fact that Walmart doesn't even seem to carry the G.I. Joe Classified line anymore probably also plays into this. So, essentially what they're saying is that this violates something to do with disclosures, because they were actively saying one thing when they knew it was not true, according to the suit. And as such, the group that brought it sounds like they're a pension fund, I believe. And so the claim is that by doing this, they were investing money in something that they were projecting this false image of its success, and in reality they were investing money in a sinking ship while they were being lied to, allegedly. In fact, everything I'm saying here is being alleged, okay, just so we're clear. So, and I mean, part of it obviously is the stock going down, as in the stock price, but also the stock as in the stuff that they have in stock. It has been escalating, and I don't think that they're alleging, from the sense of, I don't think they're alleging overproduction. I think what they're alleging is that they didn't adjust production and then claimed that there was demand, and that the stock that they were building up was to meet this demand, when in fact the demand was not what they claimed it was, and the stock is not quality material to meet this demand. It's just that they didn't slow down production, or possibly even accelerated it. And again, this kind of bears out with what we see at Ollie's and Ross and places like that. So, the people who brought the suit are hoping for a trial by jury, according to the article. And, I mean, that's one of those, they obviously think that they can sway a jury versus a judge, because, you know, a judge might get hung up on something, some technical matter, whereas the jury is going to see Hasbro's action. The people bringing the suit believe that a jury will see Hasbro's actions and determine that yes, they were deceptive, and as such, time to pay up. So, I mean, we'll see how it goes. Hasbro, at the time of the article, had not commented on it, and probably won't. That's just, you know, standard legal advice is don't talk about these things, because anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. And, well, it's worked for lawsuits too. So it is generally best to either, if you're going to say anything, it's talk to my counsel, you know, and then walk away, because there is no real benefit from a legal standpoint. Now, from a PR standpoint, you know, yeah, you'd love to go out there and be like, well, you know, they're full of shit, but you can't do that, especially if you end up losing the lawsuit, because then the public's like, well, so they lied to us too. And some people take that personally. You'll lose them as customers. So, and your stock will be on shakier ground and things like that. So, overall, I mean, total anecdotally, looking from the outside in, I would say that their assessment of the situation isn't that far off. I mean, I don't know what Hasbro told its investors. Okay, so that side I don't know. I don't know if Hasbro is sitting there saying, oh, yeah, these figures from the Snake Eyes movie are going to sell any day now. I need to keep making more of them. The ones I can still find at Ross from a movie that came out, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know. It's terrible. No one watched it. Should have not changed Snake Eyes to an Asian individual. That was like kind of the whole point, was that he wasn't. But anyway, yeah, I just, from my perspective, it doesn't look good for Hasbro. Okay, and again, I'm not a lawyer, so, and I don't know what they told their investors and things like that, but it is definitely clear that they had a major issue with their stock. Now, I think a portion of it had to do with, you had COVID, and because of that, and because of all the weird things that happen with international distribution, there was that moment where nothing was getting through the pipe. Okay, it was like the pipe was clogged, and it seems like Hasbro's solution was just keep putting more pressure on it by building up more stuff back behind it. And this is probably not even their own fault, you know, because they probably have contracts with the factories that say, you know, on this date make this thing, on this date make this thing, and those contracts, who knows how far out they are, so they probably can't just stop on a dime. So all this stuff built up, and then the log jam cleared, and it all blasted through all at once, and you had probably several different waves of these figures just hit the stores all at the same time, and the stores don't have the shelving space for that, so they had to burn through them quickly, you know, because they have contracts to take them, presumably. So, you know, you had this situation where there was a huge cycle of stuff that just flew through, and that's why there's one particular wave of G.I. Joe Classifieds that went, like, it seemed like they went straight to Ross, like it just skipped retail entirely. It just went straight to Ross for like $5 a figure. And because there were ones that would have sold at retail, because one of the ones was a Crimson Guard, and, you know, they sell. So, you know, you had that, and then retailers are like, hold up, we gotta reassess this whole deal, because they took a bath marking stuff down to clearance. This would mainly be Target, and then a lot of their, you know, some of their inventory wound up at Ross and whatnot. I assume it was their inventory, because I know Target definitely, like, after a certain point is like, well, this stuff's not going to sell, let's get rid of it. And Walmart seems to be less inclined to do that. They seem to be more inclined to just be like, it can sit in the clearance aisle for 5 years. Let's just see what happens. So they definitely operate their stores differently on that particular topic. But yeah, so I think that happened, and then there was also a huge demand because people were like, hey, these things are really cool. Hey, I got this money from the government. Let me buy some of these. And then they couldn't turn fast enough once that demand started to stop and slow down, and the stores were saying, hey, we're good, stop. And so they just had this huge backlog of inventory, and that's why we keep finding stuff at Ollie's and Ross. But now everyone knows what happens to the stuff that doesn't sell. It goes to Ollie's and Ross for like half the price, less than half the price. And so I think there's a very large component of the collecting community that's like, you know, guys, the stuff that goes to retail, let's just wait. It's not all going to sell. You know, Target's going to clearance it eventually. If we're jonesing, we'll just buy it there. Otherwise, it's going to wind up at these retail arbitrage stores, and yeah, we'll just buy it then. So, yeah, and it's hard not to do that because I think the figures are overpriced as it is. So, you know, is it pay too much for something that's going to sit on my shelf, or buy it at a bargain? Oh, well, maybe. I seem to keep missing stuff constantly at Ollie's and Ross, so because there are definitely people in the area that are buying them to resell them. Like I've met at least one of them, and I know there's other people that are collectors and everything. So yeah, it's very hit and miss for me at Ollie's. So that's why I tend to go with if Target's got it on clearance and I want it, I'm buying it. I'm not going to wait. I can live with half price. Like doesn't have to be less than half price for me. I'm not super greedy. And so this also dovetails into Hasbro's like other problem, where they put things up for order, not a pre-order, not like the big open-ended pre-orders like the Sentinels that Chad and I have talked about, but like the recent Nemesis Immortal figure, or the Once a Man Cobra Commander, that if you didn't know when they were going up for sale, good luck, because, you know, they're gone, and they'll slowly trickle out here, there, and wherever. And Hasbro is just hell-bent on screwing people with these things. I mean, I get that they've been burned because that's the lawsuit attest, you know, the whole the back catalog here, the stuff building up. But if that's going to be an issue, then do the pre-orders. You know, I'll wait a year. That's fine. Just give me the pre-order. Give me a big enough window. You know, don't make it so, well, we know we're going to make 100,000 of them, and so once we hit that 100,000, we're going to stop taking pre-orders. Like, don't do that. That's stupid. You know, just have a big enough window. Have their releases spaced out far enough that they're not one right on top of another. And go with that, you know, because I know at this rate they're going to make a figure for Globulus as well. It's for G.I. Joe thing from Cobra Law, and I'm sure just like the others, that the initial day will be some day in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, where, like most people, I will either be at work or otherwise occupied, and so will not be able to get away to order one, and then it's just a total crapshoot as to when they'll release more of them for sale, and that'll be that. You know, it's frustrating dealing with this company to the point that I'm about to stop collecting some of their stuff. Like, I'm not going to pay the secondary market prices people want for some of these things, and I'm not going to play their stupid games. So, you know, part of me is kind of rooting for those people suing Hasbro right now, not going to lie. For purely petty reasons, I totally admit that, but, you know. Anyway, so that's Hasbro's current deal. They're being sued there. They've got some other bad news as near as I can tell. It sounds like people are not too happy with certain aspects of the new edition of D&D, and the books are not exactly flying off the shelves. Which, again, you're catering to a group that a Venn diagram between them and people who are not big fans of private property, shall we say, really like that symbol involving a hammer and a sickle. The Venn diagram of those two groups is almost a circle. Like, it's not a winning strategy in a capitalist system, guys. You should know that. Or maybe you don't. Maybe that's why you do stupid things with your exclusives. That's why you have stupid exclusives instead of just releasing things. It's very frustrating dealing with this company. Anyway, I'm sure like Star Wars, I'm a fool. I'll keep buying. Although, over the weekend, I had to move some things around and realized I have a hell of a lot more Marvel Legends figures than I realized. And it might be time to downsize some of that stuff, because the only reason I bought any of them was because I bought the Giant Sentinel because it looked awesome and I wanted some X-Men figures to fight it. Now all of a sudden I've got hand ninjas, I've got all kinds of like C and D grade Avengers villains, somehow don't have a Spider-Man figure because every time one comes out it sells out 5 seconds before it's actually released through some kind of weird time travel paradox. And then they don't make any more of them, as if they don't know that's going to happen, because again, Hasbro is run by fools on par with Disney. So, yeah. I'm not bitter or anything. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Chad and I might talk about this on the next Toys podcast. I don't know for sure. Or we'll probably bring it up anyway. I'll get Chad's take on it. But anyway, let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Does this sound like a thing? I'll try to link to the actual article in the description. Let me know what you guys think of other things involving Hasbro at the moment if you want to. But other than that, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting help us grow the channel, and I always appreciate it. But other than that, thank you folks for watching, and see you in the toy aisle.